Minister, thank you for your time. Just to start off with, do you mind just recapping your main meetings today and how they went?
Well, we've had a number of meetings, but we had a meeting with the head of USID, Marocco, and of course the President's National Security Advisor, Waltz, just a few minutes ago.
Firstly, regarding the meeting with USID, I remember we chatted on Friday, and you said that part of your job this trip is to sort of get a sense of the lay of the land, so to speak, as to where things are now. When it comes to USID and what their programs are and what they're doing, do you have a better sense of where that's at and how that might impact New Zealand?
Yeah, we do have a much better sense than we had before we arrived. We had a very frank and open discussion about that. The decisions on that are being made about mid-April, and we'll have to wait till then. But they get our point of view in terms of how essential it is in the blue continent, or the Pacific, so to speak, and what our collective role should be in it.
Can you give a bit more detail just around how it might affect the Pacific?
Well, I'd love to be able to give those details, but we discussed with them what elements were very, very critical about their present obligations in terms of the aid program, and try to find out from them where it was going forward. In that sense, we know much more about what the future might be, but we are bound to wait their final decisions in April.
Minister, just very specifically, what were you advocating for? I guess, what specifically do you think is critical that needs to continue for our backyard, the Pacific?
Well, we understood why there was an aid review. In terms of that, we've already engaged in an aid review ourselves. However, the essentiality of a very, very, very detailed and forward-leaning program going into the future was a critical part of our discussion. Its shape, though, and form is dependent upon their decisions by April.
Were you able to get any assurances that there will be a maintained presence in the Pacific?
We got their assurances that they were keen to hear our views and to hear us out.
So does that fill you with confidence?
I'm that's more confident now than I was before I arrived, yes.
In terms of your meeting with the National Security Advisor,
yes,
did that run long at all?
Oh, it was a long meeting. We had a long meeting first with his team, and then he joined the meeting. It was an excellent meeting. We came away very, very, very pleased with the outcome. But of course, its details I have to report first to the government back in New Zealand, now my cabinet colleagues.
Are you able to give New Zealanders any indication as to some of those details?
Well, in our business, it's wise to find out the results before you open your mouth. But we are looking ahead with more confidence than when we arrived.
Did the issue of ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia come up at all?
No, not that point, no.
What about Yemen and any discussions around the Houthis?
No, it didn't come up because we were seriously focused on the blue continent, or our neighbourhood, the Pacific, which is the biggest theatre in the world at this point in time.
Were there any expectations raised from any of these officials towards New Zealand?
Yes, they were, because we came here to listen. We came here to ask them what they want of us. Us being a democracy since 1854 and our long commitment to our part of the world, indeed worldwide.
Can you tell us what the United States want from us?
I can tell you when I've told my cabinet colleagues.
Are you concerned by their expectations, or is it...
No.
Their fair expectations?
Am I concerned about their expectations? I came here fully expecting that those would be their expectations, and that's the way it turned out.
Can you give some assurances, I guess, Minister, to New Zealanders back home who look on what's happened in the US, particularly concerned about things like tariffs, as one example, but also the US position in the Pacific, its relationship with the Pacific. Can you give New Zealand some assurances that we will have a solid and positive relationship with the United States going forward, and we perhaps won't see what we've seen with Canada, for example, or other countries?
Well, I'd love to give those assurances, but that would be premature. We were here to build those assurances into the future, and that's where we hope to be going now.
What role do you think that the U.S. could play in helping ensure stability in the South Pacific? Obviously, China's having these recent exercises, and there's growing geopolitical uncertainty. What role do you think the U.S. could play there?
Well, the U.S. role is the most critical role of all.
Why is that?
Because of its size, because it is a Pacific nation, because since 2017, the first Trump administration turned more powerfully towards the Pacific in its oversight and in its concerns than any previous administration. And now they've got Trump back again, and we hope for the same into the future. That's what we talked about.
There are calls back in New Zealand for our government to step up its foreign assistance of Pacific nations, perhaps where the USAID are stepping back. Is that something you want to see?
Not just New Zealand. And when you say stepping back, we don't know that yet. Let's find out in April when that full review is done on USAID what it means. But we came away more confident than some of the alarmists might have been before we arrived. All right.
Sorry, it's a very quick question from my colleagues back in New Zealand. Given the state of world affairs at the moment, do you see New Zealand becoming closer with the EU, or could New Zealand join the EU?
We're going to become closer with everybody.
The OECD has projected a slower economic growth globally, except for India and China. What do you make of that? They nodded specifically to the uncertainty around trade.
Well, in the 2023 campaign, one party leader in New Zealand was saying that, and I'm so glad that now you're finally caught up.
You mean the OECD has caught up?
Well, who was saying that in 2023? In March of 23, I waited till the first quarterly update before I made any statements, as I am making on the 23rd of the month when I get back to New Zealand. I waited for the update before I went public. And we've got to be far more cautious about our economic predictions and far more clear as to the true state of the economy, not our hopeful, wishful belief in the state of the economy.
Just very quickly, the Prime Minister met with the Indian leaders in terms of some of the criticism around anti-India sentiment in New Zealand. Have you been briefed on that? Could you provide some comment?
Look, I've been briefed on it. My comment will wait until I've been advised further.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You guys have a